Hi guys, welcome to Digital Writers Workshop. Today we're going to be talking about introductions. And the thing that you should know is that introductions are actually one of the most important parts of your writing. And that the reason that it's the most important is because it really, if you have a crummy introduction, your reader is not going to want to read the rest of your piece. So it's very important that you go back and try to make the best introduction that you possibly can. So the goal of today's lesson is that we're going to learn how introductions can be used to hook your reader, and that's what I was just talking about, and also introduce your main idea. Now, if you're not introducing your main idea or your main argument in your introduction, your reader is going to be very confused. So why is this important? We sort of just talked about it. If you have a bad hook, your reader is going to be bored. And if you're not introducing your main idea or your argument, then your reader is going to be confused. So it's very important that you have a clear and interesting introduction. All right, so let's take a look. What does a good introduction do? Well, a good introduction has three things. First, it should hook the reader. We've sort of mentioned that already. Next, your introduction should introduce your topic or your argument that you're going to be talking about in your piece. And finally, your introduction should set the stage for your reader. This basically means that you're going to very briefly tell the reader what you're going to be talking about in your piece. So, for example, if you're talking about dog health, you might want to mention some things about dog health that you will be talking about. For example, you'll be talking about grooming, you'll be talking about medicine, you'll be talking about shampoo types. Now, here are some tips, and these are tips for making an interesting hook, something that's going to grab your reader's attention. So first off, one tip is to start off with a question, and we'll see an example of that in a moment. You might want to start out with a funny or an interesting fact that's going to grab your reader's attention. Or you might want to introduce a quote for your reader. So we'll keep those in mind as we are looking through some examples of introductions. So first off, let's take an example. Let's take a look at an example. This is a gut makeover for New Year. Here's a introduction that this writer has written. It says, if you're making resolutions for a healthier New Year, consider a gut makeover. Refashioning the community of bacteria and other microbes living in your intestinal tract, collectively known as the gut microbiome, could be a good long-term investment for your health. Wow, right off the bat, I'm super intrigued. Take a look at the first sentence. It's a New Year's resolution, which we're all thinking about right now, and a gut makeover. Good Lord. We often hear about beauty makeovers, but we don't often think about gut makeovers. So this author is doing a great job. He's introducing kind of an interesting idea, a new idea for his readers. And next we can see the gut microbiome could be a good long-term investment in your health. So right off the bat, this author is doing a great job of setting the stage. He's going to be talking about health and how the bacteria in your gut can help your health. So he's setting the stage. So let's look at another example from a student that I've had in the past. She says, chocolate milk is delicious, right? So she's starting off with a question. It is so good. Have you ever wondered why it's so good? Have you ever wondered why after you take a nice refreshing sip, you want more 2 seconds later, and when you come back, you take an even longer sip than last? Why? So lots of questions here. Because you're addicted to sugar. Oh my goodness. Wow, that is such a strong statement from this writer. That so-called goodness that you have in a cup for breakfast, lunch, and dinner might as well be a packet of Skittles and Swedish Fish every day. Sugar accelerates aging, and let's face it, no one wants to age. Adults want to stay young forever, and kids want to keep the cute, adorable face that they have and get the treats that they want. So here we can sort of see her main idea is that sugar is no good. It accelerates aging. And also it could affect your how adorable you are. So here she's sort of setting the stage of what she wants to talk about later on in her piece. So now, writers, let's go ahead and take a look at another piece. And what we're going to do now is we're going to see if we can help this student to improve her piece. We want to help her to better hook her reader, to better introduce her topic, and to kind of set the stage of what she will be talking about. So let's see if we can help her out. Her introduction starts like this. Although Abraham Lincoln was a very good president, he had a very sad childhood. Growing up in the western frontier of Kentucky and Indiana, through great hardship, Abraham Lincoln grew up to be a very successful leader. Okay, so the hook is not super interesting, and she doesn't do a great job of really setting the stage of what she's going to be talking about. So what I would recommend for this student is to go back into her piece, to reread it, and see if some main ideas really pop out, stick out, so that we can use those ideas to really focus in, to zoom in on our main idea. So let's reread and see if we can find some of those seeds. So in the first paragraph, she says, Abraham Lincoln's first mom died. At a very young age. Abraham Lincoln was only 9 years old. Okay. Going on, in the next paragraph down here, just 18 years later, the Civil War began, 1 year after he became president. Gosh, that must have been really hard for him. And down here it says the Civil War ended. After 4 years of cruel fighting, the matter of slavery, the South surrendered, and this changed the country immensely. So right off the bat, all of these kernels that I have picked out, they talk about how Abraham Lincoln is having trouble, having hardship. So I'm going to actually make that my main idea. And I'm going to refine this idea a little better. Abraham Lincoln grew up to be a very successful leader, I'll say, in spite of great hardship. This is going to be my main idea. And now I'm going to set the stage for what my reader what I will be talking about in my piece. So, such as difficulty in his childhood. That's what we learned about his mother dying. Difficulty in his childhood. Problems with the South, and that's the Civil War part. And also another part that I forgot was he got shot in Ford's Theater. So I could mention that he had trouble with political rivals. Those are people who are against you politically. And trouble with political rivals. So here you can see I've sort of refined our main idea. He had great hardship. And I've also sort of set the stage of what we're going to be talking about. Difficulty in childhood, problems with the South, and trouble with political rivals. Our last part to help this writer is to kind of think, how can we make our hook a little bit more interesting for our reader? And I'm going to use one of the tips is I'm going to start off with a quote. And I found a quote from Abraham Lincoln that I thought was really nice. And this is from abrahamlincolnonline.org, so it's pretty reliable. He says that towering genius disdains a beaten path. It seeks regions hitherto unexplored. So I'm going to use that quote, and I'm going to copy and paste it here, and I'm going to make sure to put quotation marks. And I'm also going to tell where I got this quote from, because it's always important that you show where you get your sources from. And this is from, I'll just copy this website's address, and I'll put it down here. I'll turn this from bold. There we go. Now we have a nice quote. We've refined our idea, and we've also sort of set the stage for our reader. Okay? So just to review really briefly, we talked about why introductions are important. We've also gone over some tips. The parts of an introduction should hook the reader, introduce the topic, and also set the stage. And we talked about some tips of how that could your hook can be improved. All right?